In our last video, we talked about steel curtain walls or metal stud curtain walls and our opaque type of curtain walls. Here we just put some stucco or IFAS on the outside of this particular curtain wall. Of course, it could have veneer of a variety of different types, whether it was stone, brick, metal, whatever. And we talked about how to use a storefront and insert a storefront into a wall, and how to use that storefront configuration also to create bands of windows, and then how to just create a general fixed window and put it into our model. So that was all in our last video. In this video, what I want to do is cover glass curtain walls, which were our curtain walls, just like this is a curtain wall. As I talked a little bit in the last video, a glass curtain wall consists of the mullions. There's vertical, what they call vertical mullions, and there's horizontal mullions. And then within the mullions themselves, they're called panels in generic terms, but they're glazing panels, and then what we call spandrel are solid panels. And then of course there are anchors that the curtain wall is then connected or anchored back to the structure itself, because it can resist wind loads, but it doesn't really resist any structural loads. Let's look at what Revit does. And in Architecture tab, there's a series of menu items here that deal with glass curtain walls. And then I'm going to go into Walls and Architectural Walls. And you'll see right here there's also the storefront, as we talked about before, and then we bank window, band window, and then you'll see a curtain wall condition right here. And I'm going to click on that curtain wall, and I'm going to edit type and open that. And you'll look here, when we look into there, in the storefront, these vertical mullions, horizontal grid, vertical grid, horizontal mullions, all those had values filled it out, and we used spacing values. We're going to start with just a blank sheet, and that's the way the curtain wall one in Revit starts out. And the only thing that I'm going to do in here is the join condition, and I'm going to set the join condition here to vertical grid continuous. In curtain walls that are multiple stories tall, often the vertical grids are continuous, because it's on the vertical grid that we actually connect the curtain wall back to the structure, and very rarely do we connect it on the horizontal grid. So I'm going to set that as continuous, so it'll appear continuous and apply that. And then, I should have duplicated it first though, but that's okay. We'll type in my curtain wall, and now we have my curtain wall. And so let's put a curtain wall here, and the easiest way to do this, as in most walls, is from some plan view. So I'm just going to open up the first floor plan view, since our curtain wall is going to run from the first floor up to the top. Let's go in here real quick and just put a curtain wall in. I'm going to go to Wall and then click on my curtain wall, and then I want it to start at level 1, and I want it to start at 0. And then I want it to go up to the top of the parapet, all the way to the top, and I don't want that offset either. So now I've got my levels set, and I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm just going to throw a wall in right now. I'm not going to worry kind of where it is. I'll fix where it is later. So I'm just going to pop that right in there, and we'll say right there. So I'm going to go to 3D views now, back to our 3D views, and we'll see now that I have two, really, one way to think about it is two big sheets of glass with no mullions. And so what I'm going to do now is come in and pull a mullion system on my sheets of glass, and just so I can kind of see my sheets of glass, we'll shade it for a second so you can see my shaded sheets of glass. And the next thing I'm going to do is put in a curtain grid. And remember, before, when we put the curtain grid in, it was built into the actual family itself, into this family here. So we put them in here. But I'm not going to do it that way this time. I'm going to show you how to just start from scratch. So to do that, I'm going to go into, this is the north elevation right here, so I'm going to the north elevation. I'm going to now set a series of grids in here. Go to Architecture and Curtain Grid, and you'll see across all segments, one segment, all except picked. And that doesn't make sense to you right now, but it will as I show you kind of what happens. We can see that we're going to want spandrel panels that cover normally from the finished ceiling up to the finished floor. And to do that, I'm going to come in and put in a series of levels here first. So instead of putting the grid line in first, I'm just going to come in here and pop in where my finished ceiling would, or I think it would be. And I can go back and change this later. We can see here. Let's get these down so we can see them a little bit better. And then I'm going to put a grid in here. So architecture, level, and I'm just going to go up here and throw one in right now. And then rename it. And this would be level 2, and I'm going to set it, instead of FF, I'm going to use FC for finished ceiling. And yes, I want that, and then I'm going to break it. So I have a little break in there on it. And then it's not the right height. Well, this is the first floor, and the first floor is 18 feet. The second floors are 13 foot 6 inches, and so I would set the ceiling to that to 10 feet. But here I'm going to set the ceiling to 15 feet. So let's retype this as 15 feet. Give us 3 feet to work for mechanical and structural there. And then I'm going to put 10 feet in here. So I'm just going to add 10 feet to 18 feet. And let's go into levels again. Architecture levels. Once again, I find it easier just to pop it in. And this is going to be plus 10 feet, which is going to be 41.6. So we type in 6 inches. So now we have ceilings in here, and that'll help us set our grids. So here's our wall, and what we want to do is cover up with a spandrel panel, a solid panel. We want to cover up this area right here, and between the ceiling and finished floor here, and the same thing here. So what I'm going to do is go into architecture. I'm going to create a curtain grid, and I'm going to go down here on the side, which will give me a horizontal. See, if you're up here on the top, it gives you a vertical. If you're over here on the side, it gives you a horizontal. Now, since these are considered grid lines already, the outside edges, I don't need to put a grid there, so I'm just going to go down here, click there, click there. As you can see, this is going to go pretty fast. Oops. Come on now. And now I'm going to go into a 3D view, and you can see I now have some grid lines right there. I must have accidentally put that one in as I was putting the other one in. But the other grid lines are on this wall. I'm going to put those in off video, and so we'll have those. But there's no reason in you watching me put grid lines in. And so with the grid lines, those grid lines placed in now, we can come back in and now place mullions on top of those. So you'll see the next command here is mullions, and so all we have to do is select a grid line and place a mullion on it. And to do that, what I'm going to do is come in here and select that wall, and we could go into the sub level and architecture mullions, and you'll see I can put a grid, I can put it on a grid line, just a grid line segment, or all grid lines. And so right now what I'm going to do is make it easy on myself. Since I know I want mullions on all grid lines, I'm just going to click on all grid lines, and put all those mullions in at one time. I could have selected them independently, especially if I wanted to change the grids. So the outside or border grids I wanted to be different. For right now though, I'm just going to keep them the same. So now we have grids. Let's go back to our 3D view so we can kind of see them. We have grids, we have the curtain wall. And one thing you'll notice is the glass is on the outside, and normally when you look at curtain wall sections, you'll see that this deep portion of the mullion is normally to the interior. And that's because we don't want water collecting here and making it difficult. Also, it affects wind. So we usually want the shorter side of the mullion to be on the outside. And so I'm just going to select that, hit the tab key, which flips walls. Remember, we flipped walls, and now we'll see that this wall's been flipped. Outside wall's where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go back to level 1 and zoom in here. And I really want it out here at the edge of the concrete. And right now it's right there. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to select. This is the curtain wall. So if I want to move the curtain wall, I actually have to move this line, not the components. And then go move. But I can snap from the outside edge. So outside edge to there, outside edge to there. Let's put thin lines on. So no, yes, I've got it done. And let's go to medium so we can see some more of the detail. So there's my glazing panel. There's my mullion. There's my glazing panel. There's my vertical mullions there. On this corner down here, though, I actually put one 3x5 there, because I haven't done this one yet. But what I'm going to do is swap that out, and I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to say put me a 5x5 corner in there. Okay, and so this is the way it's going to do that 5x5 corner. We could also use a quad. Okay, so the 5x5 is a quad, and actually I think I like that better, so I'm going to leave that there. We've got our horizontal mullions. What I want to do is put spandrel panels in here. Go down into the subcategory. And so I'm going to up here and hit the tab key, right? Which should me through, and you can see I've got a curtain wall and it's glazed. And what I want to do is change it to solid. Now if this isn't in your list of systems, then you just need to download it from your family's folders. And so if I do that, now you'll see that that's solid. And so I'm going to do the same thing here. See if I can get that panel, sure enough. And solid. And do the same thing here. I'm going to go to a north elevation. There we go. Now let's go back. Okay. So I'm going to stop here and break this video into two pieces. Now we have the curtain wall in here, and we have their spandrel panels to cover up the structure and mechanical and all of that.